I recently announced that I'm not going to be creating video content while I focus on my upcoming books. But sometimes things happen in society in general and in politics where you just can't turn a blind eye and can't stay silent. And it's really frustrating because, I get a bit fed up talking about politics sometimes because it can end up sidetracking you to talk about so many different topics and things, and it just derails all the content you're creating and your own goals and things. It's a minefield of absolute chaos. But the reality is, if we stay silent on topics that deserve to be spoken about, we're not doing ourselves justice, and it's definitely um, stunting humanity's growth, because we end up being stuck with dictators. This is really the big problem is, and I've had a problem with Trump since forever. I don't like the guy. He's a narcissist. Just a narcissist. That's all he is. If you promote him, he'll love you for it, because he's all about grandeur. He's all about status and privilege. That's what he's all about. So as long as you're kissing his ass, he'll love you for it. It's the same. I compare like America in general and the way the leadership is to the Roman Senate and things. It's the same thing. He's just the emperor. Think of him like a Roman emperor. People have to kiss his ass, otherwise he has them assassinated. He'll have them taken out, and he'll do it in his own way. He'll do political assassinations and things. But this is what Trump's like. He's no different than an emperor. So when you think about the people who have to get along with him for the sake of democracy and for the political points, look around the world at the way people are handling him. But those are like national leaders. He literally recently had a state visit to the UK. I don't think he was particularly welcomed. I don't think anyone gives a crap about Donald Trump, to be totally honest. But he thinks he's important because he's an American president. But on a human level, him and himself, I don't think many people really care less about meeting the guy. He's not endearing. He's not likable. And he is a dictator. He really is. It's actually quite alarming. And then you've got J.D. Vance, his vice president, who I think many people distrust, and I've never liked him either. And it's crazy. You've got a whole group of people who are unlikable, yet they preach democracy. They preach they say the words that have punchlines, but they're complete hypocrites. So they'll say about free speech, but only free speech up until the point where it supports them. When it goes against them, they call them adversaries, enemies, and they'll start calling them rogues. And they say we've got to annihilate them, and then they get really heavy-handed with their language. And it's never usually just something that's minor, like, oh, I don't agree with this or something, and do it in a really, really delicate way to allow people that freedom to have their own voice. It's always suppression. It's always mental. And we've seen it anyway before. Like I've spoken about it before, about the protesting in California. And then they sort of like send in freaking, was it the National Guard or whatever it was? It was crazy. And it was completely at odds with the local police. It didn't even make sense. All because there's a political game being played. And a lot of it is to suppress American values. Now, I've always thought, like personally, I always thought if America came to the way it is right now, that people would not only speak up, they would literally take to the streets. They would literally take action in their lives. I didn't think they'd ever allow an entity, because of the way they are with their rights and things, and they talk about amendments and things like that. You wouldn't think as a nation that people would just be subjugated the way they are and allow it to happen. I find that remarkable. Now, again, if I know there's a lot of strong arming going on in America with the way the government is being run and the way they're moving pieces around for their own will. So they'll remove someone from office who doesn't share their values, but they'll call them incompetent, and then they'll put someone else there who does share their values. Then all their agendas get passed. So I get it, like your value, but the reality is, the more this happens, the more your values are getting diminished, and the more your voice would never get heard. So it's quite crazy in a short space of time. Literally, what we in 8 months into this presidency or so? I don't know the exact amount of months, but it's like crazy how much has happened in a short space. We're not even through a year yet. And yeah, so it's quite crazy for me, the political landscape. Now, before I talk about something else, the UK is running a similar risk, because we've got this reform party, and it's the same way people have voted for Trump. It's like people just get fed up with status quo. They get fed up with certain things they consider corrupt. And then there's like a new hope, but the new hope is just sugar coated. It's on the one hand they'll tell you we'll do this and whatever it is that you're attracted to, and you'll give your vote to that party. I can tell straight away the Reform Party cannot be trusted. There's agendas that they don't speak openly about or heavily, and it's very, you have to sort of read between the lines, and people have figured things out, but they're not the answer. In my opinion, not the answer. There's going to be, if they get into power, it's going to be very much similar to what Trump does. It's going to be an awful lot of radical change, and it's not going to be for the betterment of the population at all. For instance, they hide the fact that, from my understanding, they want to abolish the NHS. So that's like free healthcare for everyone. So it's fair. They'll get rid of that, and you end up having to have private health insurance and all sorts of shit. And it's like that's going down the same path as America. I mean, most people can just look across and say it's completely corrupt, and that's what the Reform Party would be looking to do. And if you think about the people who are jumping ship, for the most part, it'd be people who are just not doing well where they are, you know, or they just think that place is going to win. They want to be on the winning party. It's never about the people you're serving. You know, this is all self-preservation. Politics is all self-preservation. It's very shady. Anyway, but America I'm finding absolutely crazy with the lack of free speech when it's a country that prides itself on free speech. So just on the message and the way they deliver, the way they're like, again, the things they say, the things they stand for, the patriotism and all this, you're thinking, just iconic wise, I'm not saying actually what they do in their only daily life and values, but like what they stand for. You would say America's all about free speech because they preach it so much. They preach the term. I'm not saying they preach free speech. They actually preach the term free speech. But if you actually look, it's very suppressed. So if it's suppressed in America, what hope is there everywhere else? That's what America stands for. So if people are just going to allow themselves to be silenced so easily at times, you've got to think, what hope is there? You know, you can't sell out just because you're going to lose something. That's the real problem. People sell their souls for money all the time. The world is entirely corrupt, so you have to try to make sure that you're not corrupt. Don't allow yourself to be corrupted by the things that happen in the world. You know, you stand by your values all the time, no matter what. So this is stuff that personally I wasn't really excited to go near. I can't, because I get fed up with politics. So I see it all clearly, and I just understand in my own daily life. I don't like Trump. I will never like Trump. He's a manipulative narcissist, and everything that goes his way, he's happy for. Anything that doesn't, he's so freaking a tyrant. It's crazy. And again, it's all for political gain. You just can't trust the guy. He don't talk anything factual. He never talks on very deep issues that could affect him. You know, we see it with the Epstein files and all that, where he's just trying to completely change the narrative so no one goes near it. And then he gets tied to other people. You know, there's connections, and he'll deny the connection ever exists, and yet there's proof that it was. But he'll convince some people are just sheep. They just follow everything he says, like he's the Messiah. He's an idiot. He's an absolute buffoon. He talks like he's wealthy, but then it turns out that he's been bankrupt so many times that he doesn't have that much money at all. It's all in property and equity and things like these, you know. And I've heard stories where he's had like horror stories of his business dealings, and and you look at the way he talks, he articulates himself, and his mindset, the way he thinks. It's like, how could, like, maybe he has business acumen in terms of the things he's learned of other people and experiences he's had, but I think just considering the way he articulates himself, I can't help but think if his business dealings are anything to do, like in comparison to the way he treats politics and the way he talks, I can't see him being very good in business. I think he's a pretender personally. I think he's someone who acts the part. I don't think he's very good at half the things he thinks he's good at, personally. And he wants to go down in history as someone who made peace and that, but yet he creates war. He creates division. He's corrupt. It's like, that's not a humanitarian. Personally, I think when he's gone, when his time on Earth is finished, I don't think he's going to be remembered very dearly at all. I think people are going to, you know, breathe a fresh, you know, air that we've got change coming, because this is outrageous the way he is. Recently had a state visit to the UK. Personally, I don't think King Charles or the Prime Minister or anyone truly wants to meet him. I think people just they're going through the motions, really. to placate him, really, just to make him feel special. And it's like he's so narcissistic, he doesn't see it. So he'll think, oh, everybody's here for me. You know, no, they're here because you're the president. And they know that life has to move on after his position is finished. So when it's someone else's term, keep that connection with America. So what has Trump done recently? He's influenced the pop society, I think they call it. But anyway, it's more the entertainment industry. And he's got his hands in everything. And it's incredible. And there's an immense amount of corruption that's going on at the moment. So Jimmy Kimmel, if I can get it up, Jimmy Kimmel was recently axed from his late night TV show. Now, I'm not aware of all the presenters. I've seen some of them. I've seen clips and things. I'm aware more of others than I am of some. But these are the people who bring mainstream politics to the masses, really. Sometimes it's in a light-hearted way. They'll talk on topics. And okay, maybe it does have an influence on people. But not being funny, if someone has to listen to either a comedian or a presenter for up-to-date information, and they listen to that over a leader, I think what it does is shows weak leadership in the first place. So if you watch someone talk about a topic and you believe them more than the head of state, then I kind of think it says a lot about the head of state. Because if you trusted the head of state, you'd think the other person, maybe they've got an angle, or maybe they'd put a twist on it. Just maybe it's comedic value. It shouldn't impede on your ideals and what you think of that person. But I think if it does, I think it just shows a limitation with the individual in the first place. So personally, I think the majority of people, not everybody, because some people just believe anything, don't they? They're just so gullible. But I think the average person, I think, can see that that Trump can't be trusted. You wouldn't think, I would trust this guy. Like he's loyal, and then he's got good values. I don't think anyone thinking of Trump is going to think of them things at all. And again, unless you're a bit, you've been tainted by him, because some people do that. They get a loyalty to someone because they feel affiliated with them, so then they stay loyal for the duration, and it's crazy. They can't just like open their eyes to change their opinion a little bit. Like just think about what he's doing. So anyway, you've got these late night TV hosts who talk about societal issues, politics, and all sorts of things. Even anything in entertainment. It's not always aimed at the political leaders, but sometimes there's satire. Sometimes there's truth. Sometimes there's serious things that need to be spoken about. So Jimmy Kimmel, he spoke. Look, I've seen clips. I haven't seen the whole show, the whole episode. Personally, I just think, to be honest, if the network felt the episode was bad, I don't understand. Does it air exactly live, or is there a delay? If there's an issue, if there's a potential problem, why air it in the first place and risk someone's position? Like, why not just not air it and he continues with his show? Instead, they've cancelled his show, and it was huge. And I can't think how sad that is for everybody. Like, for instance, people don't get to hear him who got their information from him and enjoyed what he does. I don't see why he can't have the platform when he had it. And it's not. It's just TV. And then you've also got the people behind the scenes. I think people forget about that. All those jobs that get lost, all because of someone's ego who wants to exert control and dominance and just completely eradicate free speech. And it's something that they talk about an awful lot, the JD Vance and Trump and things. They talk about free speech, but it's only free speech up until the point where you're kissing his ass. It's not free speech when you talk about issues they don't want you going near. So look, things can be edited. So I'm not a naive individual. I look at all sorts. I'll hear the idiot speak from himself. I don't just listen to different narratives and that's it. I'll listen to the words coming out the horse's mouth himself. And I'll see other things. So you make a informed decision. The way Trump talks, I just find aggravating as shit. I can't stand the guy. I really don't like him, and I'm never going to pretend I do. I'm not a pretend person. I can't pretend to like someone I don't like. If I don't respect you, I don't respect you. I think he's bluffed his way into politics. I think he's bluffed his way to be the president of America, and I think he's got more power than his intellect can handle, personally. And I think it's crazy. And I think the people that have helped him get there have considered him a puppet. So there's people above him who are pulling all the strings. And this moron thinks, yeah, I'm going to go down in history. You're going down in history like Hitler. That's literally it. So, yeah. And he ain't helping himself. So every time he tries to act like he's doing things to improve things, and he just seems to dig himself a bigger hole, and it's just quite crazy. But anyway, so Jimmy Kimmel, he loses his show. There's been a bit of outcry at the moment about that. And it is getting worrying because I can't remember who else lost their show. There was someone else before him. And I think, I don't know the exact numbers. I think there's about five, maybe there's about 5 late night TV hosts on different networks. I'm not sure what the networks are. I'm not American. But I've seen each one individually through some content here or there. And I find that quite alarming. Like, for instance, if you got rid of 2 and there's potentially 3 left, I mean, I might have the numbers wrong. I'm not saying that's completely factual, but I think that's the case. I think there's like 3 left. It's starting to erode one at a time to the point where now there's no politics in the mainstream entertainment industry. So it starts to silence those voices. That's literally what's happening. And I think it's quite alarming. And it's this idea that the hypocrisy really that comes from the leadership. That's all. People just need to open their eyes, look at the narrative they spew, and look at the actions they do. It's that always their actions are opposite to the words. It favors something when it's favoring them, they're in favor of it. When something goes against them, they go absolutely tyrannical on them. It's crazy. So I spoke about the Charlie Kirk situation where he was shot. And I spoke openly about it. I did 2 videos on that, and I mentioned the point of the fact that people shouldn't seek revenge on people and things like that. You should be able to control your emotions. You can have different views on society, like radically different views in society, in values, in faith, and anything in life. And maybe it goes really against what you think, and maybe it like sears at you a bit, like in terms of the fact that maybe they don't value life. Or it feels like a judgment on yours. But it's like you have to be emotionally intelligent enough to be able to handle the fact that someone has a different view of you. And yeah, you can not like them. You can not respect them. I didn't respect Charlie Kirk. I didn't like him. We had polarizing views on life and everything. Everything I heard from him, I never felt I agree with anything he says. It was the complete opposite. But that doesn't mean I seek revenge or I seek satisfaction in his loss. That's not the case at all. I think it's important that we allow people to be themselves and see life in whatever way they choose. And it's people have to be able to process information themselves. So it's not about silencing that person's voice so no one hears it because it's corrupt. Who are we to say what voice is corrupt? You could raise awareness and you could talk on things, but it's not about seeking revenge or anything. I can't stand Trump. It's up to people what they think of Trump. Do you see what I mean? I'm not going to change my opinion on him. I think the guy's a moron, and I think he's got more power than his intellect can handle. To be totally honest, and he's put puppets. I think he's like a puppet, and there's puppet masters above him. And if you look at what he's doing, he's creating more puppets beneath him, where he controls the strings. It's quite alarming, isn't it? And then you look at America, and it's getting very, very controlled, state by state. Bit by bit. It's quite obvious, but some people just close their mind to everything. It's crazy to me. Now, you could argue American politics and American society, anything American is none of my business to a degree, but America's still part of Earth, and when it affects humanity, it kind of affects everybody. So, yeah, America is a different country to where I'm from, but it has a direct influence. I mean, he's literally just had a state visit where everybody's just pandered to him, so I think that says enough in itself. So yeah, but I really just want people to open their eyes. So it's not about just agreeing with everything someone says. I don't expect people to just 100% agree with me, but it's open your eyes to what you're seeing. This cancelling of people, it's no different. I'm going to show some examples here now. Like, really want to go through it. I don't know exactly which ones are which because I've reposted some, and what I want is to show some of the stuff that I've seen. This isn't all I've seen because, again, I do my research. As you can see, I've opened up a news profile here. I've even delved into Trump's state visit because I was seeing part news as it was happening. And he wasn't warmly welcomed, by the way. They obviously do what they can in the UK, the government. They try to do everything they can to give the best impression they can. But that doesn't mean the people are accepting. J.D. Vance, in the summer, he came to the Cotswolds, I think it was, and the people there were livid because literally the convoy of cars they have is mental. That's a really, really nice, pristine countryside area. It's really one of the most iconic parts of Britain. I haven't even been to the Cotswolds yet in my life. I intend to go visit at some point, but these are places that are considered really, really nice. And yet, it's completely like grotesque how they just like close off the road so the locals can't travel in and out, get where they need to go. People who want to visit their own places in their own country can't even visit it. And apparently, even Secret Service were knocking on people's houses and things, finding out what their political views were. Like, what's it got to do with you? This isn't your country. Like, you don't have authority here. And apparently, people were saying that they were standing up to him, and it's like, great, that's great. But he weren't even welcome, Vance. But they'll give the picture that he was, and it's like he wasn't welcome at all. People were mocking him and with like those projector things, because there was apparently something where he took exception of this Photoshop thing. So people were to really goad him. They did it. At one time, Trump came. I think it was during his previous presidency. He came, and people were in London and things. They had these balloons, and you only have to. I haven't searched it now, so I can't show it. But just look it up. There's balloons of him like a baby. Massive balloons and stuff, and it's just crazy because people in the UK, I don't think some people obviously like him because people are attracted to whatever, no matter where you're from. But look here, this is literally, is this a Windsor Castle? I think, or somewhere. I think it was Windsor Castle because I heard they did it. But look at this, Epstein and Trump, a picture of them together, literally on the side of the building while he visits. So the government can do whatever they can to pander to him, but it doesn't mean the people will. Now, there's sectors of society that look up to him in the same way there's sectors of society in America that do, but it's just the people that are just like, they don't look at the bigger picture, they just see sound bites. And it's the same way they've jumped on Reform, because some people act like patriots, but they're racists. That's really the problem. And that's happening a bit in the UK at the moment. So, for instance, in the UK, we're not really a place that really displays the flag all the time. It's like America does, but we don't feel we need to just display our patriotism all the time. Like, it's just a given. In America, everything's always out in front, front and center. You get billboards everywhere. That's just the way America is. So it's different. So recently, the UK has had like people putting flags everywhere, but it's not been flags of patriotism. It's flags of racism. That's the sad part. So, like, for instance, on my TikTok handle, my name, I've got the Union Jack, the British flag. But I had that before all this. It was when we were going through that TikTok deletion, and then people from around the world were when America weren't available. So when America went offline, other people were making posts, and people were saying, like, where are people from? And it was interesting because you're getting content from people, because most of the content is curated from America, weirdly enough. But when America's not there, we start to hear from other countries, and it got interesting. It was very culturally diverse. So I've put my Union Jack next to my name. But now, because of this level of racism that's spreading at the moment, which is hiding behind patriotism, my Union Jack flag on my name might be misconstrued as someone that's racist. I'm not racist at all. I value people's right to live a fair and balanced life. I don't have those views, or all those wild views that other people have, because people are too entitled. I come from here, so this is me, and it's like you got privilege, then they look down at other people and they just think everything else is a threat. But it's like, you're just delusional. You can't look down at someone just based on where they were born. That's crazy. And it just, again, there's people just posturing because they want to seem important. And again, it's easy to manipulate someone who's already got a radical mind, or they're a bit weak-minded that can be influenced like that, But anyway, so I said there's political issues either side of the Atlantic, but here we are. So anyway, this is Trump's state visit, and it's just people just pandering to him, and he just lies all the time. But as you saw there, we had the projection onto the thing. So we've even got this, and now Trump's saying that Jimmy Kimmel was sacked for a lack of talent. His answers are so vague and stupid. All the little sound bites. It's just he sounds like a toddler to me all the time. And then I'm hearing that his viewership was about 1.2, 1.5 million people per episode. That doesn't sound like someone with no talent. And I'm only going by what I've read, what I heard recently. So, and apparently he's got over 20 million subscribers on YouTube for his show. That doesn't sound to me like someone with no talent. Trump's just jealous of him and the position he has and the influence he has, so his popularity. So they have to bring that down. So effectively, what's happened here, and we may hear it from others in these videos, but I'm not sure. From what I'm hearing, there's two sort of channels, like Disney and the other one. I can't remember. Is it ABC or someone? I can't remember who it is. But Disney, to get an American network, American TV, there's certain networks. I don't know how many it is. I think it's maybe 5. So that means places like Disney have to use those networks to get onto the TV. So they have to do deals with them. And in America, like for instance, in America, there's certain people. I don't know if it's the culture, commercial culture secretary. I can't remember how it all works in America, the exact people, but they can revoke licenses. So effectively, for Kimmel to stay on the TV, it could have come at the loss of the actual network itself because it could get removed. And the way Trump's trigger happy and he's put all these puppets below him, they will do his bidding. So they may actually remove an entire network worth billions and billions, maybe even trillions. I don't know the values of these places. But if Disney, as big as it is, isn't even the biggest player in this, that's quite crazy, isn't it? How much money has been thrown around. Then you hear that Disney has a merger in place. I don't know if it was ESPN with something. So, of course, they want that to go through, which needs presidential approval, from my understanding. I may be slightly wrong. So, of course, this Kimmel thing, he's not going to do that. And then apparently the network had and also has another merger deal they want done, ratified or something. And it's like Kimmel's in the way of this because if they stand by him, Trump's going to throw a hissy fit and he's not going to approve these mergers and things. There's a lot of money on the line. And these companies, of course, chase the money. So he's just a scapegoat, really, a scapegoat. But it's crazy because, to be honest, I've seen him talk about Trump quite openly and ridicule him and things, and I've enjoyed it. To be totally honest, I've enjoyed seeing some of the sound bites. And you'd think, you know what, he seems safe enough in his role, and it's just crazy that someone that seems safe has now lost their show. I find it absolutely mental. So let's really, for transparency reasons, well, I think this is important. Instead of me just saying these things, you don't see it. Now we're going to show some footage of people talking, and it might be someone on a news channel, it might be someone who's in positions that maybe people are familiar with, and it's them speaking on the issues now. But yeah, I can't keep talking about politics. I definitely can't spend my life talking about Trump. You could do a whole book on Trump. Let's be totally honest. It's like I'm not here to pander to anyone, and I would never kiss his ass at all. Kiss my ass. Do you know what I mean? I'm not playing that game. So I'm of the mindset that these people, they'll have positions for a period and then they will be gone again, just like he was last time. You know, they have their position of power for a while and they will be held accountable one day. So it's like, stay strong during their dictatorship. But the only way change is going to happen is if people open their eyes and they're prepared to do something about it. So it's right, when time comes to vote, you make sure you're voting in the right direction, you know. Of course, if you vote for him, then that's what you want. That's great. But I think the majority of people, I'm not saying everyone, because some people are blinded by his nonsense, but I think the majority of people who voted for Trump, I think they just voted for change. I mean, like there's usually a societal issue that they latch onto. In the UK at the moment, it's about immigration and things like this. And the fact that, you know, we've had a conservative government with like Boris Johnson and then other inept people after that you're thinking, I don't trust these people. They're just, it's one moron after another. They're one lie after another. So then you go to Labour and they say all the right things against, because I've seen loads of the footage. I know it's digressing a little bit, but I wouldn't say I'm deep into politics, but I do follow when I want to. So I'm not always in it, but sometimes I'll spend some time listening. So, for instance, when it's Prime Minister's questions and you've got them literally in the House of Parliament and you've got the Conservatives one side, you've got Labour the other side, and you've got the other parties sporadically, depends where the seats are, you know, when it was voting, but usually it's Labour and Conservative. And I tend to listen quite deeply to the debates, depending, again, when I'm not always there listening to it, but when I do, I listen. I can sit there for a good few hours just watching it, you know, because I find it interesting because they all lie. It's like literally, as soon as someone says something, the other party's anti that. It's just to be at odds with it. And they'll always say whatever it is terrible, even if it's not that bad. So politics is shady. So Labour get in after Conservative have been terrible. And immediately, the things they promised have just been eroded. So things like rising taxes and all sorts of things. There's things in society as a whole. And they just started eroding things. Things they said they would never do. So then that goes, wait a minute, we can't trust these guys. So then Reform come out the side. Wait a minute, we can fix all this. You know, immigration's going to get. Effectively, they're finding all the little loopholes, all the little things that maybe you're not happy with, and it's easy for little sound bites to go, "We're the answer," and then people jump on it because they don't think deep enough. They are even more corrupt than the incompetence that was the others. You know, That is outrageous. They will abolish the NHS. There will be so much radical reform. You will lose a lot of your rights. It's going to be crazy. Like free speech will be removed just like Trump. It's just mad. It's annoying that there's never usually just one political party you can trust. But again, I don't want to go deep into politics, but I just want to show the level of corruption that really stems, and the fact that people or parties will prey on the vulnerability in society. So America had an issue where, rising costs, everything was going up. Your energy prices, your cost of living, and people. That's the one thing people are going to think about. If you're struggling to pay your bills and you haven't got a lot of money here, and jobs are getting lost, and all these things, it's easy to then target others and say, well, it's because of immigration, or it's because of trade. It's all because of this, and it's just. And then Trump will come in and say, I'm going to be your savior. I'm going to fight for you. I'm going to advocate for you. We're going to put America first. And it wasn't America first. It was certain corporations, certain companies, and his own interests. And then when he gets questions on things, he just completely sidetracks it. Someone recently, I saw, questioned him on his ability to be impartial with things because of his businesses. And his answer was, I'm not in control of my businesses. My son is, or by someone in the family. It's like, you don't think that you privately you're having influence on that? That's just, these people, I either think everyone's naive or the majority of people are, and they believe him, because there's no way. You can't trust it. It's just crazy. And it's a bit like in the UK when we was going through COVID, and then a lot of contracts were getting handed to very like big contracts were getting given to people who had connections to politicians. So that was corrupt as well. It was, and that's shady. And America is like times 10 on the shadiness. So all of a sudden, I know we're digressing here, but I think it's just important to talk about it a little bit here. I mean, I've already discussed the fact that we had riots because people were just like, it's crazy, like with the situations going around America at the moment, especially with the immigration, like the fact that they're trying to deport, mainly Mexicans, but anybody really, even people who have green cards and shit. It was actually crazy. Oh, I've thrown myself right off there. But, I shouldn't have gone down that way because I've thrown myself off the other way. There's just so much that's going on in America at the moment, But yeah, so people are struggling with the cost of living. And then the prices are going up and up and up. And then so Trump comes into office and the prices even skyrocket even more because he was deporting people who work the farms, people who help do the work within the produce sector. So food wasn't reaching the supermarkets, the stores. So naturally, it's supply demand. There's not enough supply. There's too much demand. Price goes up. So even the price of eggs I was seeing was like $15. And then Trump, because Trump doesn't go to the shop, he doesn't even know the price of anything. So either he's being told something, or he just thinks if he says something, it makes it true because he is narcissistic, of course. So he's going, the price has never been cheaper. And people are seeing in their own lives, this is dearer. And some people are showing receipts from like 4 years ago, and the price in the supermarket's doubled. These are the exact same items, and I've seen footage of that. So anyway, just show that really whatever comes out of his mouth is usually peeking out of his arse. Anyway, that's that. But they don't like free speech. You're a threat to their message because obviously it goes against the propaganda they spew. So let's go through some of this. I haven't got every single one. I'm going to do it. I'm going to have to skip some because this is reposts that I share. So there's been a few political ones, but there's some music ones. I have to try and get through the music ones because copyright. So anyway, let's start with, should we start about here?
We have some big news right now. The Trump administration is celebrating the decision by ABC to indefinitely pull Jimmy Kimmel's show for making a comment suggesting that Tyler Robinson, the suspected shooter of Charlie Kirk, was MAGA. Brendan Carr, the chairman of the FCC, who threatened to revoke ABC affiliate licenses earlier today, just tweeted out saying, "I want to thank Nexstar for doing the right thing. Local broadcasters have an obligation to serve the public interest. While this may be an unprecedented decision, it is important for broadcasters to push back on Disney programming that they determine falls short of community values. I hope that other broadcasters follow Nexstar's lead." ABC News, of course, followed Nexstar's lead as a whole. The threat to journalism and the First Amendment has never been greater. And here's the deal. If Trump comes after me, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to fight back, so make sure to subscribe to my Substack at the link in my bio to support my work.
When Stephen Colbert announced that his late-night show was being canceled back in July, the president of the United States, Donald Trump, had a chilling reaction.
Fallon has no talent. Kimmel has no talent. They're next. They're going to be going. I hear they're going to be going. I don't know, but I would imagine because they get,
Why does he contradicts himself? I hear they're going. I don't know, and then he starts waffling again. So that creates uncertainty. So either you know and they're definitely going, or you don't know anything, but you're trying to create a narrative that pushes towards it. But he talks like it's fact. So he started off talking facts. They're going. Then he was like, I don't know. And then he talks again. You have to find the hypocrisy in what he says. He often contradicts himself all the time. He's a moron. I told you. I said this. It's crazy. You can have someone so powerful like this.
Colbert has better ratings than Kimmel or Fallon. You know that.
They're next. I hear they're going to be going. Well, tonight, an ABC spokesperson confirms that Jimmy Kimmel's late night show has been preempted indefinitely. Now, it comes just hours after a large set of ABC affiliates announced they would refuse to air Kimmel's show. They say because of comments the late night host made on Monday night relating to the motives of the man that shot and killed Charlie Kirk, wrongly suggesting the killer was part of the MAGA movement. He was not. Nexstar, the largest owner of local stations in the country, came out and said it, quote, strongly objects to recent comments made by Kimmel concerning the killing of Charlie Kirk and will replace the show with other programming in its ABC affiliated markets. And if that were the whole story, he said something, it was not correct, the affiliates pushed back, well, then that would be one story. But that, of course, is not the whole story. Okay? Because crucially, just hours before that statement, Trump's hand-picked FCC chairman went on a podcast and suggested ABC's broadcast license or affiliates could be at risk if they did not suspend or fire Kimmel, essentially issuing an order saying, and I quote him here, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. Well, hours later, ABC made the announcement Kimmel would indeed be taken off the air indefinitely. And this is just the latest chapter in Donald Trump's ongoing campaign to crack down on free speech, dominate the media, and essentially render the First Amendment meaningless. When Stephen Colbert
Should be noted that I have, like, again, I said I haven't seen a full episode of Jimmy Kimmel, but for something I did see a segment, he didn't even say anything bad. You know, they just expect everyone to kiss their ass. That's really just a big problem. It's just crazy. He didn't say anything bad. You can have a difference of opinion. You could not like someone. I don't see how that's a negative. But of course, you know, politicians like to spin things. So if something seems like they could jump on something to help with their ratings, they'll do it. That's exactly what they're doing. They're playing it as martyrs now. Crazy.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang.
This is it. Thankfully, people have shown it. So this is literally the segment I saw that he did. And it was enough to get him fired. I didn't even see anything wrong in it. Again, free speech. You don't have to agree with everything someone says. You might go, oh, I don't really like that. Okay, you don't like it. It's not enough to get someone fired. He's just got a different opinion.
Weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the...
Sorry about that. I've just got to say it. From my understanding, now I'm not saying that the person who did it is MAGA, is one of Trump's people. But from what I have read at the time, apparently the person's family are all Trump supporters. So it's really confusing. Either he really was anti them because he was against his own family, or he didn't share their values, or he was the same. It's called confusing, and things could be happening for a reason. Maybe they target that person to just as their own, to make him a martyr. You know, there's so much that is corrupt in America, like with the politicians and things. They will literally do things just for their own points. So we could make this person a martyr, and we'll get political points out of this. You don't know. It's so America's always been shady.
Finger pointing. There was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks. They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes.
Well, I don't know if that's edited or not. I don't know. But if it doesn't even matter, because the point is, these late shows, they do snippets and make things funny. They create these little comedic moments. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's genuine, if literally, because Trump just hears what he wants to hear. You know, he doesn't care deep about people. So he would have used the situation with Charlie Kirk for his own benefit to get attention on it and make them seem like they've had a loss and all that. But because the attention goes to him and he's got something on his mind he wants to talk about, that I wouldn't be surprised if that was genuinely the actual footage where he's now interested in talking about himself and what he wants to do. And, you know, so it's like, we're doing well, we're doing. Because he's forgetting that he needs to play the character here now, because you genuinely couldn't care less about people because you're a narcissist. So he's forgetting to put the mask on to pretend that he cares. That's what I think. But there is a chance it's edited. But again, if it's edited, consider the fact that late night shows have comedic timing. They have comedic elements. So if we watch it again as a comedic piece rather than something serious. So I think that's the thing. People have to understand satire as well. So I understand it could be genuine. It might be edited. Either way, it's funny. And really, it does epitomize Trump anyway. So let's do that. Let's find the clip.
Flew the flag taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
So even a satire, if that was just satire, that's still funny as shit. You know, is any of this enough to get him taken off the air? Come on, there's a lot worse things out there than that. That's outrageous.
Yes. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. Demolition, construction. This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish, okay?
So you can say, I like him. He's you know, far better than Trump. Well, I need to be very careful.
We have breaking news right now. Donald Trump just made a stunning admission saying that media organizations cannot criticize him, and if they do, they'll face punishment, essentially. A stunning bombshell admission. Speaking on Air Force...
It's like someone's just said here, if I'm not mistaken, he criticized the previous president non-stop. Yeah, he's a complete hypocrite. There was something happened recently. I think it was the Charlie Kirk situation. It was the Charlie Kirk situation. I saw him talk. I don't know if I saw him talk or if it was something in an article, news. Like, I'm not sure exactly which one there. But he was saying that it's disgusting how the other side of politics and the other parties are being so disrespectful about the Charlie Kirk situation and things, and they're using that as ways to target, and it's just saying it's deplorable because he saw it as an attack against his administration and the way his values and things. And he says we would never do that. We would never take joy at things like that. But yet when Biden is it cancer he's got? I can't remember exactly what it's got now, but he's got something wrong, hasn't he, Biden? And I remember that when that happened, you thought, that's not good. And then Trump came out and said, I don't care. He's horrible. He come out and said these things. He's always said really, really bad things about Biden. He couldn't care less. He's always, every time he can say something, he digs in and he puts blame on every little thing on him. But as soon as there was a health issue, which you think that's a time just to well, there's a human side to this. He went at him, and that was before this situation. So he's a complete hypocrite. And it's the same thing with what was it, the Capitol riots, where there's people. I think a police officer got killed. That was really, really bad. That literally was like almost like it was almost like an attempted massacre of politicians, like leaders. That effectively go against what Trump says. And he was all for it. He rejoiced, he incited it, and he rejoiced at it. And then when he come back to be president again, he pardoned all those involved, called them patriots. That's him. And then he says, anybody that's dissident who goes against his authority will be crushed. And then he sends in, effectively, the military into California to try to crush people's freedom of speech, because it went against his views, and yet he gave pardons to people who fought for his. You know, he is a complete hypocrite. This guy, he's dangerous.
One to reporters, he said, quote, "When you have a network and you have evening shows, and all they do is hit Trump, that's all they do. If you go back, I guess they haven't had a conservative one in years or something. When you go back and take a look, all they do is hit Trump. They're licensed. They're not allowed to do that." Donald Trump is essentially saying that media organizations and late night television hosts are not allowed to criticize Donald Trump. Here's the deal. Of course they are. They are allowed to do that. But Donald Trump is making clear that if they criticize him, they could face the suspension of their show, like with Kimmel, or potentially the revocation of their media license as a whole. And independent media has never been so important in this moment because folks like us, we're not going to cave to the White House. We're not going to cave to Trump. So make sure to spread the word, subscribe to my Substack, support my work at the link in my bio, follow along.
Thing is with this, for instance, you could argue, like I said earlier in the video there, it's American politics, isn't it? It's an American issue. It's really good. Like, I'm British, so I don't have these same issues that Americans live with. But for me, it doesn't matter where you are in the world. It doesn't matter what your race, your religion, ethnicity. I don't care about any of those metrics. All I care about is justice. So when I perceive an injustice, no matter who it is, no matter where it is, I will talk about it. Now, I can only talk about so many things, though. I can't talk about every issue. And if I don't feel strong enough in the message, that I don't know enough, like there's too much to it, then I don't necessarily talk on it. So, for instance, you don't see me talking about the Israel situation. I've done it a couple of times, but I still need to educate myself on the history of it all. I'm not someone who's just reckless. I'm not going to just go around saying this. Look, I see it, and I'm not happy at all, and I think it's deplorable. There clearly is genocide going on. There's no doubt about that. But I don't know the history of it all enough to have like a narrative per se. But I have my own opinion on it. But it's not. I think when you take something into the public domain, you need to know what you're talking about, and you need to be educated to a degree on certain things, because otherwise it could be just reckless statements, you know. So it's not that I'm scared to talk on something; it's just that I'm aware of there's a deeper issue, the underlying issue that goes deeper than what I would understand right now. I'm not someone who just goes with just the traditional message and takes it as gospel. There's too much in if we're going to go that way. This is what I'm talking about. I consider the world. You know, this isn't just a case of, I'm in Britain, I feel safe, blah, blah, blah. No, there's issues around the world, which is why, like I said, there's a bit of racism going on at the moment in the UK where people are really anti-immigration the way some Americans are. And I don't like that at all. You know, we're all humans. And I've always said it so many times, we should be nomadic. I think culture is important. I think diversity is important. Division is bad. Division is what creates this hate. And it just makes the world bitter, resentful, and people then start posturing as better than others. It's like you're just a human being who has opportunity privilege, and you looking down at someone because it makes you feel good about yourself somehow. Like almost like how sad has your life got to be that you've got to posture above someone? You know, that bothers me. But if you go to the Middle East, for instance, I'll just talk briefly. From my understanding, Israel, I don't know if it's in the 30s. Is it the 30s or 40s? I can't remember. Where Israel become its own state. So effectively, you had from my understanding, I might be wrong. I'm just saying what I understand. That the Palestinian people, that was their land, and then Jews never had a country of their own. It may have come from the persecution from World War II. I really don't know the depths of it. What I'm saying, I've still got to learn. So, from my understanding, the Jewish people made a settlement in Israel. And they kept expanding it and pushing the Palestinians away. That's what it seems to be. So it's ethnic cleansing. And because the amount of money, where people inherently know that Jewish people tend to be rich. So they've really, really penetrated the American political landscape. And become wealthier and wealthier and wealthier to the point where they influence a lot. And that's the only thing that makes sense to me. And I'm not sure if that's correct, like how much is deeply correct, but just looking at the world, it doesn't make sense any other way. Like, why are countries like, like European countries, for instance, why are European countries pandering to Israel all the time? It must be political influence because the money's there, but it must be political influence from America because that's the only thing that makes sense. Because America is so tied towards Israel, even if the American people don't agree, they won't budge. And everybody wants to pander to America. So it seems to be that there's something deep tied there. And it has to be to money, connections, power. There's something weird within it. And then next to that, you've got countries like Jordan, and we've got Yemen, and I'm going to get lost with a lot of names. I don't want to say the wrong. Lebanon, I think. And we've got places like that, and obviously Syria by extension there. We've got Iraq. So you've got all those there, and they're more, I don't know if it's Muslim countries. I might have the terms wrong. I just know they're different, completely different culture to the Jewish culture. So Israel is the only Jewish state. The others are all very much different religions and culture. So that they don't really have any, from my understanding, Israel don't even have any allies in the region. No one likes them. And there are attacks on their country. So they do get attacked, but they're also provocating other countries, and they keep attacking other countries as well. So they don't seem very friendly, do they? But anyway, because that's what I figured out so far, like, from what I can understand, I still don't feel it's enough to sort of start going deep into the politics or deep into anything, because it's a completely different culture to what I know. So it's not that I'm scared to talk on something. It's just I think you just need to know what you're talking about before you do. And I find that there's still so much to learn within it, the facts. But anyway, on a human level, it's deplorable. It's absolutely disgusting. On a human level, just treating people like fodder. It's disgusting. And I'll say that much. So again, I've lost track now with the other side now because I'm so far that way. But yeah, I'm just talking about the world in general, really. It's just there's so much. If you look, I think it's Venezuela and is it Ecuador as well? There's a lot of, I think it's those two countries, where there's very much corrupted leadership and people are absolutely suppressed. I've seen that a few years ago. I don't know if it's still going on now, where people are put under curfews and there's just all sorts of shit that goes on around the world. And there's a lot of suppression and dictatorship. And you start looking, the world isn't free like it should be. So when I perceive an injustice, it bothers me a lot, and I don't care where you're from. It bothers me just as much as if it was here. So when I see that, I just think the world should be free, and I don't consider myself just British. I'm a human, and humanity needs to be saved. And I think the only way that's going to happen is if we actually talk about things and raise awareness for it, and don't allow these tyrants to sort of keep controlling our blinking world. There's enough of us that we can take the power back. And it starts with one at a time. So if I can speak up and talk on topics and take time to learn certain things, then other people should too. And the more people do that, the more we rise up and freaking instigate change. Because if you don't do that, certain narratives are going to get spread, and it's dangerous. So where this racism is spreading like wildfire in the UK at the moment, it's because people are not educating themselves enough to not see past the propaganda, not see the aims and goals that people are trying to aspire for. And it's just a really, really, it becomes a dictatorial thing in itself. When you're anti something so much in the way they are, like when it gets racism, that really gets dangerous in itself, because it becomes, it's the same thing as like Nazi Germany. It's the same thing. But they act like they're patriots. That's not patriotism. Patriotism is wanting your country to be prosperous, to be like successful, to love where you come from, and the values. The values is accepting people, having compassion. It's definitely not marginalize and hate people, because really we should all understand that everyone suffered somewhere in their life. It could be your finances, it could be personal harm, it could be poverty, it could be things like that, but it could be persecution, it could be so many things in different other countries. We all deserve freedom, and right now freedom is getting suppressed.